I'm Ellie, and I live with privilege. I do not have the privilege of a private, expensive education or an influencer lifestyle. I'm not privileged enough to live my life free from the critique of my gender or my aesthetic. However, I do have the undervalued, basic privilege of a voice. The privilege to speak up and speak out plays a pivotal role in changing how the world views young people, and more importantly, how we view ourselves. So today I'd like to explore why we need to empower our fellow young people to harness their privileges of a voice and use it to forge change. An understanding of why so many teens feel disillusioned by the notion of politics hinges on understanding where our negative perceptions of politics originate. For the young people of 2023, the corruption at the core of Westminster is undeniable. The numerous scandals of Partygate, the 10 Downing Street refurbishment costs, and the Sue Gray report, all surrounding Boris Johnson, highlight the lack of transparency in our government. The moral disease which has infected politics for so long must be treated before young people can have faith in our government's ability to represent the millions of us who call this nation home. And yet, the voices of our generation will never be heard. We are disenfranchised. And I can't help but wonder if young people's weakening optimism and curiosity about the world is a byproduct of our disenfranchisement. The inquisitive nature of our 5-year-old selves, always looking to question why, understands the power and privilege of a voice, and this should be cultivated by our teachers. A teacher's job is of course to teach, but it must also be to support. And yet too often this responsibility is not given the gravitas it deserves, and young people feel they're not heard, resulting in a disinclination to speak out at all. A 2021 survey by Mind stated that 3 in 5 young people have received no support from their school in regards to their mental health. This is simply a failure to act in young people's best interests. Along with our parents, our teachers are the primary trusted adults in our lives at this formative stage. And this sense of distrust for those who are supposed to look after us transcends into a similar distrust for our national decision makers. Why would they be any different, especially if we'll likely never meet our local MP or councillor within our lifetime? Our disillusionment with politics can also be tracked to a second, arguably more nefarious problem: representation. Even if we are lucky enough to have educators who teach us the power and privilege of our voice, it's a woeful truth that many of us will never see people like us in government. Of the 22 main cabinet members of government, 16 of these are male, and 9 of these 16 were privately educated. Until we break the diversity barrier, then we cannot truly shift the balance. And while I would like to believe that young people are the future decision makers, I'm saddened to think that fundamentally this is a cliche, as only a minority will be able or willing to play a role in governing our country, or be empowered enough to try. In Orwell's seminal dystopia, 1984, he writes of the working class proles, who make up the majority of the population. The proles have the power to overrule the authoritarian society in number, yet they pose no threat to the upper class inner circle. The reason? They're subdued by access to alcohol, drugs, and crucially, a general lack of interest in the government. Thankfully, we don't live in an Orwellian state, but is it not the case that our apathy towards politics could be causing us, the future decision makers, to sleepwalk into elitist authoritarianism? It highlights why young people need to use their privilege of a voice to demand that they have a say in how society is run. Those who refuse to be silent, who refuse to shatter and shrink in the face of opposition, are our generation's trailblazers. Arguably, one of the most well-known UK youth voice groups is the UK Youth Parliament. I am one of those lucky enough to be an elected member of Youth Parliament, or NYP, who will have the pleasure of attending a debate in the House of Commons in November to represent my county of Somerset. And I was also fortunate enough to meet the 391 NYPs in Leeds this year, and the work of those I spoke to was staggering and would truly change lives. From community cookouts to ending period poverty, to someone who delivered a food poverty petition to 10 Downing Street, these young people had done it all. I pride myself in being a part of this group and showing that young people are interested in society and want to play a role in reforming it where they can. So, how do we create the leaders of tomorrow? I return once again to teachers, who are pivotal in moulding individuals who want to speak out and believe confidently and passionately that they can create change. I heard about Youth Parliament because of teachers. I'm here today because of teachers. And I'm able to exercise my privilege to speak because of the teachers who supported me. And yet we can all teach another person, so perhaps we're all teachers here today. We can all empower those around us. Research your local youth voice groups. Spread the word to young people and other adults as I have done here today. If we can showcase what we are achieving and who is listening, then just think how this could benefit some of our most isolated communities. I started with a message about privilege. I leave you with a message about potential. We're all born with the potential to be great at something, but we often cannot develop this alone. Be the person who sees another individual's opportunity to flourish and make sure they achieve this. Never underestimate the power of believing in young people. Never underestimate the privilege to have a voice. Thank you.